Okay. As well as in Docker Swarm, there is no concept of GUI. For Docker Swarm, we don't have GUI. For entire Docker, we have, particularly for Docker Swarm, we have GUI. But Kubernetes, we have, like, there are a lot of limitations of Docker Swarm. To overcome the limitations of Docker Swarm, we are going to use the concept called Kubernetes. What we are going to use? So let's start the session. Like, it's one of the important tool actually, not topic. It's going to be more crazy actually. How do you expect the Kubernetes? Is it easy or difficult? Like how it is going to be as per your expectations? Hey, yes said, yes said. Fine. So Kubernetes is going to be not easiest tool. Like, it is one of the difficult. I am telling it directly for you. Okay. But I'll try to make it more easy for you. But the only thing is we need to keep concentrate while I'm telling. Okay. So, okay. First of all, I'll ask you how to pronounce this one. Why? Because you are learning the tool, right? Lot of people, when I ask, like, about container orchestration, yes, we know. They are going to tell the tool name. First of all, I'll open this one. What is the name written here? Huh? Kubernetes, okay. Hmm? Kubernetes, okay. K8s, okay. Then what else? That is the mistake actually you are going to commit. Guys, listen here. The pronunciation is exactly Kubernetes. What is the pronunciation? But depends upon the accent. Sometimes R should be silent. Kubernetes. Kubernetes or Kubernetes, both are same. But depend upon the accent. We have a lot of accents, right? It's gonna vary. Some people will call it as Kubernetes. Kubernetes is not correct word. But I heard this word from a lot of people. Even in real time also, Kubernetes is not correct. The exact name is Kubernetes. Or in shortcut, you can call it as K8s. What you can call it as? So if you see Kubernetes starting what is K, ending what is S, in between are you seeing 8 letters here? So this is what you call as Kubernetes. Sir, if you observe the Docker logo, is a ship carrying containers here? Docker main purpose is to containerize the application. Okay, here ship is carrying a lot of containers. But sir, whenever a ship is going in the sea, if I want to control the ship, do we need to have steering or not, sir? Here is the steering, Kubernetes. Correct only. Here is the steering, Kubernetes. Are you seeing the Kubernetes logo? Ship steering or not, sir? Why? Because to control the containers. To control what? To control the containers only, we are using the Kubernetes. That is the reason why Kubernetes logo is having the steering of ship actually. Clear now? So coming to the history here, Kubernetes is derived from the Greek word. Which word? There is a word called hailsman. Hailsman means like pilot for the ship actually. Pilot is not this pilot, for ship pilot. Okay. So based upon, yeah. So captain, we call it as hailsman in Greek word. Like that. Sir, earlier we use here Docker Swarm. Is Docker Swarm is also one of the container orchestration tool or not, sir? But in Docker Swarm, we done some manual works. For example, if you ask, coming to the Docker Swarm and Kubernetes, setup of Docker Swarm is easy, sir, but Kubernetes is never easy. You are going to see it now. Auto scaling. In Docker Swarm, have it an auto scaling manual or automation? But in Kubernetes, we can do it automation. I'll tell you how to do automation. Community. For Docker, we don't have community support, sir, but Kubernetes, we have complete community support. Community support means if I want to develop any feature for Kubernetes, I can develop and I can give for all of you. That is what you call as community support. But for Docker, we don't have community support, but Kubernetes will have. GUI. Do we have any default GUI for Docker Swarm? Default I'm asking. But Kubernetes will have it. Coming to the load balancing as well. For containers, have you done load balancing? But Kubernetes will do the load balancing. Clear now? So coming to the Docker Swarm, when compared with Kubernetes, Kubernetes will automate a lot of things. It will scale automate, it will deploy automate, it will load balance and automate. Clear now? Simply one difference. Why we are moving from Docker Swarm to Kubernetes? No, no, no. For automating the things. What things you are automating? Scaling you are automating. Load balancing you are automating. Deployment also we are going to. Docker Swarm has some manual things. That manual things you are going to automate with the help of Kubernetes concept. Which concept? Great then. So now coming to the theory of Kubernetes, it's an open source container orchestration tool. Which tool it is? Container orchestration. That means to manage the container. You know about orchestra? In orchestra, like if you see some English movies, there are some orchestras, right? Even in Titanic also. Have you watched Titanic? And there is one orchestra, like let me show you. Here if you see, in the middle, there is a man, right? Here there are some violin players, there are some pianos, there are some drum, other things are there. We know what these guys will do. The person who is playing the drums, guitar, violin, we know. But do we know like what this man is going to do? He will do like this, right? Based upon his hands movement only, everyone is playing the instrument. Correct or not, sir? Here also based upon Kubernetes what will Kubernetes tell? Every container is going to listen. Here, this man is Kubernetes. Okay, this man controlling the troop or not, sir? Here the man is controlling the troop. Likewise, Kubernetes will control the containers. Based upon the movements of the hand, they are going to play instrument. Kubernetes also, whatever the work done by the Kubernetes, containers are going to do the same work. That is what the meaning of orchestration. What we can call as? So at the end of the day, all the containers are going to listen Kubernetes only. Clear, no? Fine. So Kubernetes is a container orchestration platform. So it's a free and open source one. It is used to automate many manual processes. In Docker Swarm, we have one manual process, like lot of manual process, like deployment is manual process, managing is manual process, and scaling the containers also. But in Kubernetes, all of them we are going to do automation, sir. Simple automation. Of course, in deployment, we have done automation only on Docker, but in Kubernetes, we can do it more automation. Coming to the Kubernetes, basically it was developed by Google. Who developed this one, sir? And we use which programming language? What is Go language? Google's official language. So Go language will form is Google official language. When does Go language comes into the market? The day one I said of the demo. 6 not 8. It is on the year. In 2008, we have a lot of revolution in IT industry. Google Go language came into the market. Netflix collaboration with cloud first time. AWS. DevOps came into the market, and Satyam Computers banded a lot of people, right? So that becomes Tech Mahindra later. So like a lot of IT revolutionaries happen in that particular year. Then later, Google donated Kubernetes to CNCF Foundation. CNCF means Cloud Native Computing Foundation. What's the meaning of CNCF? In the year 2014, of course, there is a theory for it actually. Google is having a lot of applications. Can anyone tell me few applications of Google? Google Drive, Google Photos, Google Classroom, Google Lens. Lot of things we have, sir. So Google is having multiple number of services. To manage all of these services internally, they create a system called Borg. B-O-R-G, Borg. So they create the internal system to manage thousands of applications in their cluster. But later, they thought that if we release the application to the market, lot of people is going to get some free and open source things. They not to pay any amount for it. They think like this. So then they released the Kubernetes first version in the year 2015. Basically, first of all, Google created the Borg system and later given to CNCF. CNCF renamed the Borg to Kubernetes. First version came into the market on which year, sir? 2015. Basically 2014 only, but it is Borg one. But Kubernetes officially said that it is 2015. Like that. And why we need to use Kubernetes means already we discussed. What are the manual works we have done on the Docker Swarm? It is going to manage complete into automation way. That is the reason why we are using the Kubernetes. Sir, if you see the architecture, I'll give you a couple of minutes of time. Try to see the architecture and try to understand how the architecture is working. See the architecture, I'll give you a couple of minutes of time. Try to see, you should have 1 minute of time. There, you have some connections only. Are you able to understand anything there? Nothing, right? Okay. Let's see this architecture. Let's try to understand that one at least. All of you are just like watching a Hollywood movie with Chinese subtitles, right? There is everything there, but nothing to understand, right? There is a master node, worker node cluster, like what to what, but don't worry, I'll tell you, no. Sir, like here, I'll ask you one thing. You know about Docker Swarm cluster? If you know Docker Swarm cluster, Kubernetes cluster is very easy. First of all, we have cluster. Inside cluster, we have nodes or not, sir? Inside nodes, we are going to have pods. What we are going to have? Inside pod, we have container. Basically, in Docker Swarm, we have cluster. Let me write it out. 1045. The architecture is going to be too crazy now. Like, let me tell you how exactly you need to remember this one. I'll tell you one shortcut. If you learn this one shortcut, in lifetime, you will never forget the Kubernetes architecture. That's what I'm sure. So, first of all, in Docker Swarm, what you are having, cluster you are having. What you are having? Inside cluster, you are having nodes or nodes, sir? Inside nodes, what we create? Inside container, we have application. Correct or not? Huh? Same thing in Kubernetes as well. First of all, we have cluster. What we have? Is cluster clear here? Inside cluster, what you have here? Nodes. So, container also put here. And inside container, there is application. But sir, here there is a middle thing called pod. What we have here? The difference between Docker Swarm and Kubernetes is Docker Swarm having cluster, Kubernetes also having the cluster. Docker Swarm having the nodes, Kubernetes also having the. But Docker Swarm doesn't have pod, Kubernetes will have pod. Again, Docker Swarm will have container. Kubernetes also having inside container. What you have? Here also you are having. Clear now? If you see here, the architecture one more time. First of all, are you seeing cluster now? Inside cluster, are you seeing this master node and worker node? Inside node, what you are having? Pod. Inside pod, what you can see? Container. Inside container, what you can see? Is it clear now? You got the clarity? Difference between Docker Swarm and Kubernetes cluster is only one pod. Only one? Tell me, cluster. Inside cluster, you have nodes. Inside nodes, pods. Inside pods, inside container. Clear now? Got the clarity? But I'll teach you one more shortcut. It is not the shortcut actually. I just said the simplified way, not the shortcut. If we want to understand the Kubernetes cluster. I'll tell you one shortcut. All of you watch movies, huh? Sure. Oh, who's your favorite star then? Ravi Teja. Okay, Shah Rukh Khan. Prabhas Singh. Still. Ram Charan. Rahman. Dead. Okay, then still. Might be in future. I hope so. Then, Sampunesh. Who's that one? Oh, who's the one? There's one big fish missing actually. Nobody's telling his name. No. Who is the biggest star of India actually? Chiranjeev is the biggest star. Before this, like Shah Rukh Khan and everyone came into the market, Amitabh Bachchan praised himself. Chiranjeev is the best actor in the entire country actually. Not so. Like Rajinikanth, if you ask, after Chiranjeev only, if you ask me. And one more thing here, I'm not the Chiranjeevi fan. To tell an example, I'm taking Chiranjeevi. You know Chiranjeevi? If you know Chiranjeevi, then Kubernetes is very easy. Trust me, I'll tell you. Most simplified way. First of all, we have Chiranjeevi. After Chiranjeevi, who is the head? Nagababu. After Nagababu, Pawan Kalyan. After Pawan Kalyan, Charan. After Charan, Allu Arjun. These are the main heroes, right? So now if you see C for cluster, N for node. Then P for what, sir? Then C for container. Then A for application. Then megastar family is equal to Kubernetes cluster or not, sir? Again, C for Chiranjeevi, man. Okay. So C for cluster, N for node. C means Chiranjeevi, it's cluster. N for Nagababu, it's node. P for Pawan Kalyan, it's pod. C for container. Charan. And A for Allu Arjun, it is. Now, Chiranjeevi family is equal to Kubernetes cluster or not, sir? This is the way to remember. Of course, if I say the technical example, you can remember now, but after you can't remember, sir. But this example you will remember for lifetime or not. Even if you want, you can teach for your kids and grandkids as well. Hope if you live till then. Fine. So how's the shortcut for you? Good, eh? What about your online? How's the shortcut? From NOS it is difficult actually. That means I need to create one more shortcut for it. Okay, great. Fine. So like this is the way how I used to remember the things. Basically, even I'm also human. I cannot able to remember all of the things. But if I want to remember, I use this kind of terminologies in shortcut. Fine now? Okay. So now here, like when it comes to the point of architecture, what exactly we are talking about is Kubernetes architecture. First of all, cluster, inside cluster, you are having nodes. Inside nodes, you are having inside pod, inside container, application. What is the thing here, basically Kubernetes is to manage the containers, but Kubernetes don't know what is container. Kubernetes don't know what is. You watch the movie Pokri? Ever Alibi? Alibi ever? Same like Kubernetes also is going to tell who is the container. I don't know about container. Why? Because Kubernetes communicate with pods. Kubernetes communicate with Kubernetes will never communicate with containers. Why? Because Kubernetes doesn't know there are container exist even. Okay. Kubernetes communicating with only with the pod, but that pod is communicating with the right. This is node point. The very first point you need to understand before starting Kubernetes. Kubernetes don't know about pods. Containers. I'm writing it here at node point. Kubernetes don't know about or Kubernetes don't communicate with containers. It communicate with pods. Give me 1 second. So what is the node point here? Kubernetes doesn't communicate with containers. It communicates only with. This is the first node point you need to understand before starting Kubernetes. Okay, sir, then fine here, like what exactly I'm going to do is I'm going to tell the components. For example, if you talk about Docker, in Docker architecture, we have some components or not, sir? Client, daemon, registry, host. Here also for Kubernetes, totally we have 7 components. How many components? First of all, I'm talking about API server. Like in master node, we are having mainly 4 components. Architecture is done now. Components. I am talking about master node components. Which node components? Component number 1 is API server. API server main purpose is to communicate. Like here, whenever we are working with Docker, in Docker, Docker client take the request, execute the command, gives you the output or not, sir? In Kubernetes, we have something called as API server. API server is for communication purpose. If any user want to communicate with Kubernetes cluster, first of all, we need to speak with API cluster. Are you seeing this one? DevOps engineer want to create a node actually. He is communicating with API server, take the request from DevOps engineer, execute the command, gives you the output. Is the component number 1 clear? API server. It's for communicating with cluster. Okay. It takes input, it takes a command, executes, and gives output. Is the concept number 1 clear? API server. What is API server, sir? API server is for communicating with the cluster. If I want to do any work with the cluster, I need to communicate with API server. It will take the input from the user, execute the command, and gives you the clear now. Second one is etcd. Some people call it as etcd. etcd means it's a database of our cluster. It's a database of cluster. All the cluster info will store here. Where it is going to store? For example, in my cluster, I have 2 master nodes, 10 worker nodes. I have 200 pods. I have 200 volumes. I have 10 services. Each and every information of the cluster is completely going to store by the etcd. Where it is going to store? API server is to communicate with cluster. etcd is to store the information of the cluster. Third one is scheduler. Third one is what? Sir, as a DevOps engineer, here I said to API server, create a pod. What this API server is going to do, first of all, it will check on etcd, database. This user asking me to create a pod. First of all, it is going to check, is the pod exist or not? If it is exist, can we create a pod, sir, with same name? It is going to check on etcd. If the pod is there, it is not going to create. But if the pod is not there, is it going to create or not, sir? So then, whenever I pass information, it will go into the API server. From the API server, we are going to check to, if pod is not there, I am telling to scheduler. API server is going to tell to scheduler, DevOps engineer asked to create a pod in the Kubernetes cluster. You go and create the pod. Scheduler main purpose is to create the pods on worker nodes. Scheduler main purpose is to create the pods on worker node. But sir, here how many worker nodes I have? I want to create 1 pod only. Now, the pod is going to create on which worker node? Not both. I want to create only 1 pod. No. I want to create 1 pod. I have 2 worker nodes. Scheduler is going to create the pod, of course, but how it is going to decide to create the pod on which node? For example, let's see. You are the scheduler here. Worker node 1 means your job number 1. Worker node 2 means your job number 2. You have 2 options. Which one you are going to select? You have 2 job offers, man. First person is giving 10 lakhs of job, 10 lakhs of package. Second person is giving 20 lakhs of package. Same work. Which one you are going to select? Correct, no? Exactly. You are correct, no? So if I have 10 lakhs package, if I have 10 lakhs package, I'm gonna go for 20 lakhs package only, answer. Same here as well. For example, first worker node is having 1 GB of RAM. How much of RAM? And 1 CPU. But second worker node is having 1 GB of RAM as well as, but it is having 2 CPUs. So how many CPUs? Then I'm gonna select second worker node only. The server with the highest hardware capacity, we are going to select. Which one? Scheduler is very powerful one. If I have 2 worker nodes, it is not going to directly go to worker node 1, not worker node 2. First of all, it is going to check hardware resource of these 2 worker nodes. Whichever worker node is having hardware resource more and less load, then the scheduler is going to select that particular worker node. Clear na, sir? That's it. Third one is your scheduler. Schedules pods on worker nodes based on hardware resources. Clear or not, sir? First one API server. Why API server? To communicate. Second one etcd. Why etcd? Store the cluster data. Third one scheduler. Why scheduler? To create pods on worker nodes. Fourth one is controller. Fourth one is used to control the K8s components. K8s objects actually. For example, if I have volume, I will use volume controller. If I have network, I will use network controller. If I use schedule, if I use the service, I have service controllers. Depend upon the objects of the Kubernetes, there are a lot of controllers. If you want me show, if I go here and type Kubernetes controllers, it is classified into a lot of types. If you go and see, are you seeing like a Kubernetes controllers are here? You can see lot of controllers here. Where it is. Like, let me type like this. A simple way, service are in the service controllers here. Service in Kubernetes. So like this, we have lot of service here. Not only service controller. If you want me to show, there are some network controllers. If I type network here, so there are some network controllers like that. So depends upon the type. So controllers are going to classify into many types. Okay, but here again in controllers we are having 2 types. First one is cloud controllers. Second one is kube controllers. Cloud controller means, for example, if you create Kubernetes cluster on cloud, your cloud controller is going to work. But sir, if you create Kubernetes on-prem, your cloud controllers will not work. You need to use kube controllers. Which one? So simply controller is to control the Kubernetes objects. It is classified into majorly 2 types. Cloud controller. If you create Kubernetes on cloud, it is cloud controller. But if you create Kubernetes on-prem, then we are going to use kube controller like that. Coming to the worker node now, worker node components. Basically in worker node, what is going to happen, you know? There are mainly 3 components. First of all, it is agent. What is the first component? Basically it's kubelet. We need to call it as kubelet, not agent. Kubelet. It's an agent used to communicate with master. For example, sir, if you go and see, are you seeing kubelet here? Kubelet is communicating with directly API server in master. For example, in the worker node, I create a pod. Kubelet is going to tell master node in worker node 1, pod is created. In worker node 1, I stopped the pod. Then again, kubelet is going to tell master node, in worker node 1, a pod is stopped. Again, even if I delete the pod, again, kubelet is going to tell master node, in worker node 1, a pod got deleted. Whatever the events happened inside the worker node, each and every event is going to given by the kubelet. To which component? Master component. Which component, sir? Clear for you now? Kubelets is nothing but an agent. It is going to communicate with master. Whatever the events happened inside the worker node is going to given to the will let the events happen on worker node to master. It's like let them know, uncle. Let them know. Kubernetes agent also let them know master node. Let them know like that. It won't hide anything. It's a very good component actually. It won't hide anything. Whatever it will directly let to master node. Like that. In our child days, like there are some teachers pet, right? For example, if you don't do homework, teacher, this boy is not doing homework, teacher. Even if you see a girl, teacher, this boy is hiding to that girl, teacher. Like that. Here also, whatever the events happen inside the worker node, it is going to tell to the master. Clear for all of you? Next, then here what exactly I am going to tell you is, second component is, simply I'll write here, Kubernetes will communicate with master. Simply it is enough actually. Next, kube proxy. Second one is, deals with networking. It deals with, sir, whenever I want to communicate with cluster, inside cluster, we have a lot of nodes or not, sir? Inside nodes, we are having a lot of pods. If pod 1 want to communicate with pod 2, or if worker node 1 want to communicate with worker node 2, kube proxy is going to set the rules. For example, it is going to set the IP addresses, it's going to set the DNS, and it is going to set the other components for the networking. Completely your networking is going to be taken care by which component? Kube proxy. Which one? Then next, last one is pod here, very, very important. It's a group of containers. It's a group of. So these are the three components of worker node 1. First of all, kubelet. It's an agent. Whatever events happen in worker node, going to communicate with master. Kube proxy deals with networking. Pod, it's a group of. Clear now? And you know what is the meaning of container, right? What is the meaning of container? Huh? Container is to run the application, to create, to deploy. Correct or not, sir? Whatever the application we are creating, we can deploy in containers. Why to use containers instead of using servers? Lightweight, easy to manage, easy to hold. Correct or not, sir? Like that. So now, is the architecture clear for all of you? First of all, cluster. You know what is the meaning of cluster? You know what is the meaning of node? You know what is the meaning of pod? You know what is the meaning of container? And you know what is the meaning of application as well. Correct or not, sir? I'll ask one more time. API server is for communication. etcd is for state the cluster data. Controller to control the Kubernetes object. Scheduler to create the pods on worker nodes. How it is going to schedule the pods? Based upon hardware. Kubelet to communicate with master. Whatever happened on worker node, it will directly go and tell. Kube proxy, networking, and pod to store the containers. Clear, sir? No? So now you know about cluster. Now here we are going to create about cluster. But sir, here whenever we are talking about clusters in Kubernetes, clusters are classified into two types. Majorly I am talking about. How many types it is going to classify? First one is self-managed Kubernetes cluster. Self-managed means we need to manage the Kubernetes cluster. If I create a cluster, I am responsible for it. So in that we have Minikube, KubeADM, and KOps. Minikube we are going to talk about now. KubeADM and KOps I'll talk about later. Second type is cloud managed Kubernetes cluster. For example, sir, if you want to host your cluster on cloud, your cloud is going to give some services. If you talk about AWS, in AWS we have service called as EKS. What we have? EKS means Elastic Kubernetes Service. Are you seeing this one, sir? You can create your Kubernetes cluster. But if you use Azure, in Azure we are going to have AKS, Azure Kubernetes Cluster. Which one? But if you use Google, GKS, Google Kubernetes Cluster. If you use IBM, we have IKE. So depends upon the type of the cloud you are going to use, the cluster is going to change. For AWS, we use EKS, Elastic Kubernetes Service. For Azure, AKS, Azure Kubernetes Service. For GCP, Google Kubernetes Service. For IBM, we use IKE. Okay, IKE. But sir, you can ask me, in which cluster you are going to use on real time? Depends. If you want to use self-managed, you can use. No sir, if I want to use cloud managed, of course you can use. Depends upon your choice, right? Some companies will prefer cloud-based Kubernetes cluster, but some companies will prefer self-managed. Clear na? If you don't want to use cloud, use self-managed. If you want to use cloud service. Clear na, sir? That's it. In today's class, externally, I'm talking about the Minikube only for today. So Minikube is a single node cluster actually. Minikube is what? That means Kubernetes means cluster. Cluster means multiple nodes we need to have, sir. But in Minikube, you are going to have the single node only. How many nodes you are going to have? Let me copy the content for you. So I'm talking about Minikube. All points are not necessary to remember. I'll tell the bullet points. Bullet point means very, very important. Okay. These all points nobody able to remember. Even if you ask me for 20 days after, I cannot able to remember all of them. Because I'll remember, but not in sequentially. Okay. So there are some bullet points what you need to understand. Kubernetes is Minikube is a tool used to set up the single node cluster on Kubernetes. It contains API server, etcd, and container runtime. So it helps you to contain this application. Already this we know. But sir, in real time, we use developing and testing purpose only. Where we use? In real time, if you want to have the developing environment and testing environment, we use Kubernetes for it, for experimental purpose, but we don't use on production. Okay. Here, master node and worker node will be on same node, and it is platform independent. Platform independent means, you can work on any OS. Installing Minikube is simple. It is also not required. Why? Because anyone can tell. Minikube is simple. So main points are, it's creating the single node cluster. It have API server, etcd, and container runtime. It's used for developing and testing activities. And here master node and worker node will run on same mission. And it is platform. Note, very clear note point. We don't implement this on real time for production. Of course, in real time we use, but which environment? Developing and testing only, but for production we don't use. You can ask me why. Sir, if I use Minikube in production, how many nodes I'll get? One node. If that is going to delete, what will happen, sir, for me? Application gone, right? So we use this one. And you know one craziest thing about Kubernetes? All of you know ChatGPT? ChatGPT is completely managed by Kubernetes only. Which one? And you know the strength of cluster there? 5,000 nodes we have. 5,000 servers. How many servers? In 5,000 servers, we are using 150,000 ports. How many ports? That means on an average, how many ports we are using on each server? 150 by 5. 150,000 by 5,000. 30,000. Open your calculator and do me the calculation. 150,000 by 5,000. Man, this is easiest calculation, right? 30, right? On an average, you will get 30 ports for each worker node. All of you BTech pass. 30. Guys, it is very simple. If I talk about, see, 1,50,000 means this or not, sir? Ones, 10, hundreds. Correct? So divided by how much? 5,000. First of all, remove this 3 and remove this 3. 150 by 5, how much, sir? Very simple calculation, right? That's it. I think I need to teach you mathematical calculation as well, apart from DevOps. But because last time also when I asked 4,090 plus 10, some people you said 5,000. Fine. That means it is the average calculation. So Kubernetes completely run on the, ChatGPT completely runs on the Kubernetes cluster. How many nodes we use there? 5,000 nodes. How many, sir? Great. So now here, next what I'm gonna, Kubelet is too honest. Exactly. It is too honest only. Sir, whenever you want to create this Minikube, basically we cannot create it directly. We have some requirement. You need to have 2 CPUs. We need to have 2 GB of RAM, and we need to have 20 disk space, 20 GB. And you need to have the internet connection, and even though you need to have the container tool like Docker. These are the requirements to create the Minikube, sir. If you want to create the Minikube, what are your requirements? 2 CPUs, 2 GB RAM, and 20 GB of disk. Of course, internet is common. And second thing, container tool like Docker. If we have, then only we are able to create the Minikube. Otherwise, we cannot able to create the Minikube. Let's create the Minikube then. So before I proceed for the Minikube, is the concept clear till now for all of you? What is cluster? What is Minikube? Are these 2 points clear? Online, what about you? Are these points clear for all of you? Till now, what is it? Exactly. Docker is only to create images. Whatever the image you create, you are going to use on Kubernetes for the pod. What about remaining 50 people? I got only answer from 3 to 4 persons. That means remaining people are not listening. Fine. Sir, please unmute. Suresh, I'll give it 10. Why? Because if I give an unmute option here, I lost the connection here. That happened previously actually. So here, like I'm going to set up the Minikube with the help of the Ubuntu server here. So let's take one Ubuntu server and try to set up the Minikube. I think on Mumbai. Oh man. In last session, I said the Docker project, right? I forgot to delete the servers here. Still they're running. Of course, it is stopped only, no? Fine. Better. So here I'll ask one thing. Ubuntu Minikube. Sir, here I am taking Ubuntu, that to version 20 only. Why? Because we need to stick to n-1 always. Instance type. Instance type. T2 medium is required. Why? Because T2 micro will not give you 2 CPUs, right? So click on the drop down and go for T2 medium, and like keeper is general. No need to have any specific. So here all, and what is the minimum requirement? 20 GB of EBS volume. How much? It is one of the latest bug on AWS actually. When you type 20, it is going to take first word only by default. If you observe, I gave 20, right? But first of all, it taken only number 2. It is not waiting for 0 to come. AWS, whenever it is updating, we are going to have some worst features actually. But again, we can't do anything. Today, one incident happened in our hometown. We have a family there, they are close related to us. In Pulivendul, I think so. There is some particular waterfall there. Lot of people are going to search for the diamonds. 3 of our village people got the diamonds, and which is worth up to 15 to 17 lakhs. That's what I'm planning on the weekend. But no, like it's true only. So in Pilchandila, there are some of my villages actually. So we are from Amravati, right? Three of them directly gone and searched for just 3 hours. They got the stones actually. After hearing this news, all of my villages are directly going to that particular area. But I was wondering, unfortunately, if thief come to our village, what will happen? The logic point, right? If thief came to that village, nobody is there now. They can easily get robbed. No, it's Pulivendula. Sorry, Pulshindra, I think so. Exactly. I'm not sure about that particular place, but I heard today morning only I heard about this one. Hmm? If you want to try, go on weekend and try something. Might be you can find some luck over there. Why? Because see, if you work hard as a fresher, if you want to earn 15 lakhs, how much time it will take? Minimum 3 years it will take. Just go and search for 3 hours now. Might be you can find some luck. What you will do on this weekend, man? Okay, actually, let me ask you one thing. In weekend, are you having any some special plans or adventures? Yes, sir. Who's that one? Tell me your plans. Like what you are going to do on weekend? Playing cricket. Hmm. Playing or watching? Playing. Good. It's a good hobby actually. Where do you play? Don't know na. Playing on PC or mobile? Direct. Fine. Oh, 1 second. I take Ubuntu, right? But why Amazon Linux came? Okay, fine. Even it is Amazon Linux, I'll show you how to install. I have the script for it. No need to for Ubuntu. Sudo -i. You want Ubuntu or like Amazon Linux? Ubuntu you want? One only I can tell now. Ubuntu you want? Okay, then give me 1 second. I have script for both actually, but I want to show you like on Ubuntu. But unfortunately, AMI haven't changed. So today we'll go with the setup, and I'll show you like some basic command to create the pod actually. Only few commands I'll tell, not much more than that. Ubuntu, I clearly select actually. I clearly selected like version 22 as well, but I'm not sure why it is not replicated. Okay, Ubuntu 20, T2 medium. See, I'm gonna type 20, but see what is going to happen. The moment if I give 20, directly taking the value 1 only, not waiting for a second. Like it is one of the bug for AWS actually. Hmm? Not like that. Sometimes the application will work perfectly on testing environment, but client side it is not going to work in few occasions. So within next 3 weeks, our course is going to complete. Most probably. Huh? Linux for separate batch, right? I'm not going to tell you Linux. Why? Because for Linux, you have some separate batch. Kubernetes, it will take 1 week, Terraform 1 week, and AWS probably 1 week. Of course, more than 1 week. So you can expect at least a month from now, most probably. For Linux, you need to go for Imran sir batch. Why? Because like Sar is going to take you Linux classes, and AWS I'm gonna cover here. Don't worry. So you want the automation setup or manual setup? Good, good boys. Why? Because to do automation, first of all, you need to know about. I already have the setup. So if you go to my all setups, you can see the setup there directly. But here I'm gonna explain here one by one. Sir, first step, you are going to update the server. Why? Because in Ubuntu, if you don't update, are you going to install packages? Update is going to give the list of packages to update. But if you want to really update them, what you are going to give? Interview, they are going to ask you, what is the difference between apt update and apt upgrade? Update will show the list of packages to update, but it won't update. But if you really want to update, you need to run upgrade. Guys, interview point of view question for you. Difference between update and upgrade. Step number 1. I got an idea like from the help of Apple, we can drop the pictures and everything, right? You can share the accounts as well. But if there is a feature like dropping the battery from one phone to another phone, it's going to be the craziest thing for ever happened in technology, if you ask me. Patent right? Might be somebody gives more even than before me. Might be. We can't do it. Why? Because they might already know about this one. Because for my level, I got this idea, but there are a lot of people who is more IQ than me, right? Might be. But if that feature comes now, like everybody is going to use iPhone only. You cannot see Android phones later. So first of all, step number 1 is done. You update the server, you upgrade. Update is going to show the list of packages to update. Upgrade is to really update the packages. Next here, sir, here I'm going to install Docker. How I'm going to install Docker means with the help of the script actually. Which one? That script is on internet. From internet, I want to download a script. Which command I use? Duplicate. Alternate command is call command. Call command also we can use. First of all, in Ubuntu, we don't have duplicate and call commands. Are you seeing this one? By default in Ubuntu, we don't get call commands and duplicate commands. So I'm going to download this call, duplicate and HTTPS packages. Call is to download the script from internet. Okay. I'm downloading this call package now. So now my packages are installed. Call and duplicate. With the help of call command, step number 4, with the help of call command, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to download the script to install Docker from internet. What is the name of the script? Get docker.sh. Are you seeing the script, sir? No? Get docker.sh. Now run the script. sh get docker.sh. It is going to install Docker. And I'll ask you a question. Till now we install Git, Maven, Jenkins, Ansible, Docker. We use yum, right, to install. But if you want to install Minikube, you cannot use yum or apt. This will not work. Minikube we are going to install with the help of file. With the help of what? Your Minikube is in the file format which you are going to download from internet. If you go and see here, with the help of call command, here, with the help of call command, you are going to download the Minikube from this particular link. Why? Because it is open source, right? So it is available on public. So from the call command, I am downloading the Minikube here. Minikube is a tool or not, sir? Till now, we install Git, Maven, Jenkins, every tool with the help of direct yum and apt package manager. But here I am installing a tool with the help of file format. Are you seeing the file here? File or not? This file I want to use as command. This file I want to use as, remember 2 points. Whenever you download a file and if you want to use it as a command, first of all, you need to give executable permission. If I give executable permission only, then only it is going to execute or not, sir? Step number 1. Step number 2 is all the user executed commands will be storing on user local bin. If you place this file on user local bin, then only it is going to work as a command. Otherwise, it will not work. 2 things to remember. When you download a tool with the help of a file, first thing we need to give executable permission. Second thing, we are going to move it to user local bin. If you do like that only, it is going to execute, sir. Otherwise, it won't execute. Clear now? So here, I'm using the move command. Move Minikube Linux AMD to user local bin as Minikube name. I'm moving this file and I'm giving executable chmod plus X also you can use. Executable plus X. I want to give permission to user local bin Minikube. Now if I give Minikube version, is my Minikube working or not, sir? So remember, if I download a command from the package, a file, move to user local bin, give executable permission, whatever the tool is. Now later I'm going to download the kubectl. What I'm going to download? Basically, kubectl is a command line tool used to write commands on the Minikube, sir. For example, if you want to use Git tool, you use Git init, Git up, like Git add, Git commit. If you use Maven, MVN clean package, MVN install. If you use Ansible, Ansible Vault, Ansible Playbook, Ansible Galaxy. If you use Docker, Docker run, Docker pull, Docker push, correct or not, sir? But if you want to use a command in Kubernetes, we don't install Kubernetes. We use kubectl command. Which command? Kubectl is the command used to perform commands on the Kubernetes, sir. Clear now? Again, I download the kubectl. This is also I want to use as a command. I need to move to user local bin and I need to give the executable permission. Correct or not, sir? You can do like this. But before that, you need to install some other packages with dependencies. 1 second. So before that, I need to use this command. Sudo call command. With the help of call command, I'm downloading some dependencies for kubectl. It is not much required actually, but better to perform. And here I'm going to perform some checks for Kubernetes. Sudo is not required. Why? Because currently we are a root user now. Sudo is not that much of required. So now kubectl you got okay. Finally, sir, with the help of this command, I'm giving executable permission as well as I'm moving to user local bin at same time with the help of single command. Done now? So finally, you can check the kubectl version. Sudo is not required. Why? Because currently you are on kubectl version. Assign your kubectl now. -- client also you can give. And get the client only. Finally, we need to start the Minikube, sir. Why? Because you install the Minikube, you need to start the cluster. Minikube start -- driver is equal to Docker. Their driver means your container engine. Which we use as container engine, Docker or not, sir? That's it. Again, don't worry about the steps. All of this you are going to run with the help of script. In real time also you are going to use the. But before using the script, first of all, you need to understand the manual process. That's the reason I said manual work for you. Directly I can run the script. No need to explain these 10 minutes, right? But why I'm doing means you need to have clarity what you are doing. Okay. So now your Minikube is ready now. First of all, it is validating, guys. If you have 2 CPUs and 2 GB of RAM only, then only it is going to work. Otherwise, it is not. Now your Minikube is done. If you want, give the command Minikube status. Is Minikube running now? That's it. If you use kubectl command, kubectl get PO D. That means I'm going to list the pods. Do you have any pods here? No, pod also is going to work. You can use pod or you can use pod or even though you can use PO. Anything is fine. Pod, pods or pod or PO like shortcut. So now with the help of kubectl command, you can perform whatever actions you want. Here I am going to tell you how to create a pod. First of all, what is the meaning of pod? Pod is the smallest unit of Kubernetes. Here you have. So pod is the smallest unit for deployment in Kubernetes. That means if you want to deploy an application in Kubernetes, you need to deploy a pod. It is a group of containers. And pods are ephemeral. Ephemeral means short-living objects. Mostly we can use single container inside a pod, but if we require, we can create more than one container. Like I'm telling, pod is having group of containers, but initially we create only one container inside one pod. If you want to create 2 containers, even though you can create 2 containers. But in real time also, ideally we create only one. When we create a pod, inside the pod you have containers, right? those containers are going to use the same volume, and those containers are going to use the same network, as well as those containers are going to use the same namespace as well. It is gonna share actually. While creating the pod, we must specify the image. That means whenever you are creating the pod, sir, first thing we are going to specify the image. Without image, can we create a pod? If you want to create a pod, inside pod, you need to create container. For container, we need to give image or not, sir? That's it. So to create the pod, basically we are having two options. First of all, imperative method. Second one is declarative method. I'm going to teach you about imperative now. Imperative method means creating a pod by the help of command. kubectl run, name of the pod is pod1, -- image. Image you can use whatever you want. For example, what's that image name? Your repository name. Jayanta. Jayaprakash. Sairam. -- 05. Paytm. Trainer. I create. Deleted one. Huh? Okay, don't worry. I'll use my repo. I have a account called Raham Sheikh. In that account, I have Paytm train actually. Paytm train, and the image is latest. Spot created then. It is the image. So kubectl run means you want to create if you want to create a particular pod. So command we can use kubectl run. Name of the pod is pod1. I'm using this particular image. Clear now, sir? Like that. Sir, if you want to get the list of pods, kubectl get POD. You can use POD, you can use PODs, or you can use PO also. But here pod is not ready. Why? Because there is no image exist. That image is not there. So I'm going to use one more pod for creating it. How to get the complete information of a pod is kubectl describe pod. Name of the pod is pod1. If you use kubectl describe, now it is going to show the end-to-end information. Currently, it is not working. Why? Because I know the issue. What is the issue here? Error image pool. That means in the repository, there is no such image. If image is not there, how it is going to work, sir? Like that. Finally, if I want to delete the pod, kubectl delete pod. Name of the pod is pod1. Is the pod1 deleted now? So these are the comments to remember. Only few comments I'll tell. To create the pod, to list the pods. What is the command to list the pods? Kubectl get pods, or PO. You can use pod, or you can use pods, or even you can use PO. Clear now? If I want to describe, kubectl describe pod. Describe means to get the complete information. Let me create one more pod, like to recap all of these commands. Kubectl run pod1 -- image. Can I use Ubuntu image? What is the command to list pods? Kubectl. Currently, pod is now on running status. Crash loop back off. Okay, 1 second. Delete pod1. Let me create one more container. Better. I'll change the name. Kubectl run. I'm using Raham. Name of the pod is image. I'm using it as Nginx. What is the image I'm using? Is the pod Raham created? Kubectl get PO. Is container creating now? Still it is creating. It is taking more time. It is running now. If I want to get complete information, kubectl describe pod Raham. Am I getting complete information or not, sir? Here events, like I'll tell you like what are the events and how to read these events, not now, in upcoming classes. And if you want some additional information, put -o wide. If you put -o wide, you are going to get some additional information. That means this pod is having which IP address. This pod is running on which node, master node or worker node, like that. Okay. So kubectl get pod -o wide also you can give. Clear now? So it is imperative method. Which method? Kubectl delete pod. Name of the pod is Raham. Second one is declarative method. Declarative method means creating a pod with the help of file. That is called as manifest file. Which file? First of all, API version. API version for pod is v1. In a Docker Compose also we use YAML file or not, sir? Their version you need to write. Here we need to write API version. In version we should be capital. In kind, what is the object you are creating? Pod P is capital. Metadata. Metadata means here I can give name of the pod is pod1. What is the name of the pod? Metadata means whatever the specification you want to give for the pod, you can give. Again, these 4 lines. API version for pod is, it is a default. Okay. What is the kind of object you are creating? Pod. What is the metadata? Name of the? Are these first 4 lines clear for all of you? What about you online? Are the first 4 lines clear for all of you? Okay, yeah, seems everyone is clear. Next year, I'm going to write the specifications of the pod. Specification means like this. Spec. For specification, I have to write about containers. For container, I type image. What is the image I want to use? Nginx is the image. Which image? Next, what is the name of the container? Container 1. Clear or not, sir? So now try to create, see what is going to happen. Kubectl create a resource with the help of file. What is the name of the file? Is a pod created there? How to list the pod, sir? Get PO. Are you seeing it now? Kubectl get PO-O wide. Giving IP address and a worker node or not, sir? Complete information. Kubectl pod1. Is it getting or not, sir? Finally, I want to delete. Kubectl instead of describe, can I put delete here? Kubectl delete the pod. Name of the pod is pod1. So it is the declarative way. Which way? Declarative way means by creating the pods with the help of manifest file. Which file? Name of the file can be anything. I give abc.yml. How to give this one? Kubectl apply or create or apply, anything is fine. Kubectl create a resource with the help of the file. What is the name of the file? YML. So same thing you can give it now here also. So this is enough for today. Day 1 for Kubernetes. We seen what is Kubernetes, types of cluster, Minikube setup, and creating the pod only. Clear or not, sir? So now these notes I'm going to upload on your GitHub. So in the meanwhile, how's the class for day 1 of Kubernetes? Any doubts or any queries? If you are having doubts or queries, you can ask me. All on YouTube. 1708, right? Your one is? So for the first time, I stopped the class for exact time, 12:15. For the first time in the history. So tool number 6, right? Kubernetes. Online, you can ask your doubts and queries in the comment section. Why? Because here, if I give you the unmute option, I am losing my audio completely. Again, guys, setup is on my all setups. Okay. If you go for my all setups, there you can see my setups actually. Minikube setup. If you want the setup, let me write the setup as well. Duplicate. If you go for my all setups, now there you can see Minikube setup. Yeah, placement will be there for you, Mohammed Bashir. So after your course is complete, right, you need to register on Naresh IT placement cell. So they are going to call you, and if you are ready for the interview, you can register there, and they are going to send you through the mails. Setup also I have given here one by one. You can take it from here. And next one, sir, in real time also we need to create AWS server and work every time. No, basically in real time you create servers only one time, guys. Here for practical, I'm gonna stop the server, I'm gonna delete. But in real time, you will never delete the servers. If you create a server, it is going to run. It is never going to delete. Hope it is clear for you, Kiran. Sir, in real time you said we don't implement Minikube setup. Then how do we achieve this? For developing and testing, you need to implement, right? I'm gonna tell you KOps as well. KOps is very high-end production grade tool. But for basic, you need to understand Minikube, Parvind Kumar. Here for basic purpose only, I tell you about the Minikube. But after, when you know about Minikube and what are the limitations of Minikube, then I'm going to tell you the production level tool called KOps for Kubernetes. That's it. And one more thing, after your practice is done with the Minikube, please terminate. Why? Because you are going to get bill, right? Correct or not? We are using T2 medium here. T2 medium is chargeable or not? So delete this one. So that's it. So then all good for today. Okay, so then let's meet on tomorrow's session. Bye all.